The sun burned fiercely over the mountains, casting long shadows across the jagged rocks. Serelith, the Dragon Queen, soared high above the peaks, her massive wings beating with slow, powerful rhythm. Her eyes, golden and sharp, scanned the land below, but the mountains were empty. Her brood, her precious offspring, were gone. She had searched for them for days, flying over deserts, forests, and rivers, but not a single trace remained. The grief in her heart felt heavier than any weight she had ever carried. Serelith's scales glimmered in the sunlight, but even their brilliance could not hide the sadness that shadowed her. She had raised her hatchlings with care, teaching them to hunt, to fly, to breathe fire, and to understand the secrets of the world. And now they were gone. The emptiness in the sky mirrored the emptiness in her heart. The desert stretched endlessly beyond the mountains, a sea of gold under the burning sun. Few dared to cross it, for it was a harsh, merciless land. Serelith had never been afraid of deserts, but now she felt a strange unease. She had heard rumors of creatures living in the sands, strange and cunning, and something deep inside her whispered that perhaps there was hope hidden there. She angled her wings and began her descent, moving silently toward the dunes. The heat of the desert pressed against her scales, but she barely noticed. Her mind was consumed by her loss, by the silence that had replaced the joyful cries of her hatchlings. She landed gently on a ridge, her claws digging into the warm sand. The wind blew, carrying the scent of dry earth and something else, something faint and unfamiliar. Her nostrils flared as she followed the smell. Far below, moving slowly across the dunes, was a small figure. A human boy. He was tiny compared to her, fragile, but there was something in the way he moved that caught her attention. He did not run even when he saw her descending. He was tired, his clothes torn and dusty, and his skin burned from the harsh sun, but his eyes held a strange determination. Serelith felt a spark of curiosity. She had not felt curiosity in a long time, not since her hatchlings had disappeared. "Who are you?" she thought, sending a pulse of telepathy toward the boy. She did not speak with her mouth. Humans could not always hear dragon voices. Instead, she sent the words directly into his mind. The boy froze, his eyes widening, but he did not scream. He did not run. Instead, he nodded slightly as if he understood her without words. He had lived a hard life, surviving alone in the desert for days, and fear had taught him caution. "My name is Kian," the boy replied in his mind. I have no home. No one is left." Serelith's heart ached at his words. She saw the reflection of her own loss in him, the emptiness she carried. She had spent centuries protecting her young, and now she was faced with a human child who had survived alone against the desert's cruelty. There was something remarkable in his spirit. Something worth protecting. She lowered herself closer to him, her massive form casting a shadow over the boy. Kian did not flinch. Instead, he looked at her with wide eyes, studying her scales, her wings, the fire that flickered in her throat. You're a dragon," he thought, more a statement than a question. "Yes," she replied in his mind. "I am Serelith, Queen of the Dragons. Why are you here so far from home?" I was lost," he said. "My family, they are gone. I survived as best I could. I did not know where to go." Serelith studied him carefully. He was weak in body but strong in mind. He had not given in to despair, even in the harsh desert. That resilience touched her. Dragons valued strength, but not only physical strength. They valued courage, cleverness, and the will to survive. Kian had all of that. "Come with me," she finally said. "The desert is cruel. You cannot survive here alone." Kian hesitated. He had never seen a dragon up close, never met a creature of such power. He did not know if he could trust her. But something in her presence felt protective, almost like the warmth of a parent he had lost long ago. Slowly he nodded. "I will come." Serelith lowered her body so Kian could climb onto her back. He held on tightly, feeling the strength beneath him, the steady heartbeat of a being older than most civilizations. As they took flight, the wind whipping around them, Kian could see the desert stretched out endlessly below, but it no longer seemed frightening. He was not alone anymore. The sky began to darken as the twin moons rose, painting the desert in silver light. Serelith flew silently, her mind heavy with grief but also with a small spark of hope. Perhaps this boy could fill some of the emptiness she felt. Perhaps, in him she could find a new purpose. As the night deepened, the desert took on a strange, quiet beauty. The stars glittered like tiny flames and the air grew cooler. Kian looked down at the sands below and felt something he had not felt in a long time: safety. He was with a dragon, a creature powerful enough to keep him from harm. And Serelith, though her heart still ached for her lost hatchlings, felt the stirrings of something she had not expected. A connection with this human boy, fragile and small but full of life. In that moment, high above the desert, the Dragon Queen and the human boy shared a silent understanding. Both had lost everything. Both were alone. Yet together they might find a way forward, through the harsh desert, through grief, and toward a future neither could yet imagine. As they flew deeper into the desert night, the wind carrying them forward, Sarilith allowed herself a rare thought. Maybe loss was not the end. Maybe, just maybe, a new beginning was waiting, hidden among the sands, waiting for those brave enough to find it. And in that quiet night, among the endless dunes and under the silver glow of the moons, the Dragon Queen's grief began to change. It was no longer only sorrow. It became hope. The desert stretched endlessly, golden sands rippling like waves under the twin moons. Kian held tightly to Sarilith's back, feeling the warmth and strength of her massive form beneath him. The wind whipped against his face, stinging his eyes, but he did not complain. After days of surviving alone, nothing could seem worse than the desert itself. He had food, small morsels Sarilith had caught for him, and he had water stored in a magical crystal she carried. Most of all, he had her. Sarilith flew low over the dunes, her eyes scanning the horizon. She had never been this far from her mountains before. The desert was strange to her, harsh and empty, yet it had a rhythm that she began to understand. She noticed tracks in the sand, small creatures moving beneath the surface, predators hiding in the dunes. She swooped down to scare them away whenever she saw danger, and Kian learned to trust her instincts completely. "Do you see them?" Sarilith asked in his mind, her thoughts calm and deliberate. I see some tracks," Kian replied. He was learning quickly, noticing things he had ignored when he had been alone. "Are they dangerous?" "Sometimes," she said. "But nothing you cannot handle if you stay close to me." The boy nodded, gripping her scales. He wanted to ask questions about dragons, about her, about everything, but he did not know where to start. Instead, he watched her, studying the curves of her wings, the glint of her eyes, the way her tail balanced her as she glided over the dunes. She was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Kian had always been small for his age, but the desert had made him clever. He remembered every trick his parents had taught him before they were taken, and he added his own. He knew how to find water under the sands, how to hide from the sun, how to make traps for small animals. Now, with Sarilith he could see the bigger world. He began to realize that survival was more than hiding and running. It was thinking, planning, and learning from the world around him. "Why did you come for me?" he asked suddenly, unsure if he should speak directly to a dragon. Sarilith's mind pulsed toward him, her thoughts strong but gentle. "Because I sensed something in you," she said. "You are not like other humans. You are brave, clever, and strong in ways that matter. You will survive. And I have lost much. Perhaps you can help me find purpose again." Kian thought about her words. He had survived the desert, yes, but he had also been lost, hopeless, and scared. He had wanted someone to guide him, to protect him. He realized now that this massive dragon could do both. I will try," he said quietly. Over the next days, Kian learned more about Sarilith than he could have imagined. She taught him how to sense the wind, how to read the desert's subtle signs, and how to feel the movements of creatures hidden beneath the sand. She showed him ruins of old civilizations, broken statues half buried, and walls carved with symbols he could not yet understand. Sometimes she spoke to him of her lost hatchlings, and Kian listened, feeling a connection deeper than words. He began to care for her, not just because she saved him, but because she reminded him that even the strongest beings could feel pain and loss. One afternoon, as the sun burned low in the sky, Sarilith spotted something unusual on a distant dune. "Look there," she thought, sending the message to Kian. He squinted, shading his eyes. "I see a shadow," he said. "It looks like a person?" Sarilith descended carefully, wings folded, silent and cautious. The shadow moved, stumbling, weak from heat and thirst. As they approached, Kian's heart raced. Another human, perhaps lost like him. But the figure was unconscious, and the desert had claimed its victim. Sarilith's eyes narrowed. "We cannot leave him," she said. "He would die here." Kian nodded, and together they carried the man to a hidden oasis beneath a cluster of rocks. Sarilith used her magic to cool the water and heal the man's minor injuries. Kian felt proud, knowing he had helped guide her to him. He realized that even small humans could make a difference, especially with dragons at their side. That night, Kian lay beside Sarilith on the soft sands, the oasis shimmering under the moons. "Do you think my parents?" he began, but Sarilith cut him off gently. Your parents are gone, she said softly. But that does not mean your life is over. You can build something new. You can survive and you can grow stronger. You have already done so much to come this far. Kian swallowed the lump in his throat. Her words were harsh but kind, and he knew she spoke the truth. He had survived the desert on his own. He had survived the death of his family. And now he was learning to survive with a dragon. Perhaps he thought he could survive anything. The days turned into weeks. Kian and Sarilith traveled deeper into the desert, discovering hidden caves, ancient ruins, and secret springs. Kian learned quickly, watching the desert creatures, listening to the whispers of the wind, and understanding the subtle signs that indicated danger. Sarilith was patient with him, correcting his mistakes but never scolding him. She could see potential in him, a spark that reminded her of her hatchlings, the ones she had lost. Sometimes, Kian wondered why fate had brought him here, why he had survived when so many others had perished. He realized that perhaps this was not luck but destiny. Sarilith was teaching him more than survival, she was teaching him courage, trust, and wisdom. And in return he was teaching her something she had forgotten, the value of hope even after loss. One night, as they rested beneath a sky full of stars, Kian spoke. Sarilith, do you think I could ever be like your hatchlings? The dragon's golden eyes softened. Perhaps not in body human but in spirit, yes. You are clever, brave, and strong in ways they were not. You may be different but you can still be part of this world, part of my life. Perhaps one day, you will even help me rebuild what I have lost. Kian smiled, feeling warmth he had not felt in a long time. He was no longer just a boy lost in the desert. He was learning to be brave, wise, and strong. He had a purpose. And for the first time he understood that sometimes the strongest bonds were formed not by blood, but by shared survival, trust, and courage. As the moon shone brightly above the endless sands, Sarilith and Kian rested together, two unlikely companions in a harsh, unforgiving world. Both had lost much, but both were beginning to find something new: hope, friendship, and the first threads of a bond that could change everything. And somewhere deep in the desert, unseen, the winds whispered of adventures yet to come, of trials that would test courage, and of a human boy and a dragon queen who might change the fate of two worlds. The desert stretched endlessly, but Kian and Sarilith had begun to understand its rhythm. Every dune, every shadow, every whisper of wind carried meaning. Sarilith flew low, scanning for danger, while Kian clung to her back, his eyes sharp and alert. The boy had learned quickly how to read the tracks of creatures, how to sense changes in the air, how to judge the dangers of the sands. But the desert had more to teach them, and trust would be their greatest test. One afternoon, the sky darkened with heavy clouds, unusual for the desert. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of something unfamiliar. Sarilith's eyes narrowed. Storm, she thought. But not ordinary. There is danger in the wind. Kian gripped her scales tightly. What is it? He asked in his mind. He had learned to communicate with her this way, sharing thoughts instead of words. Something moves beneath the sands, she replied. Not natural creatures. Someone is watching us. Kian's heart raced. He had never been hunted before, not like this. Yet he felt a strange calm. He had Sarilith and he trusted her. He had to trust himself too. As the storm approached, the desert seemed to shift. Hidden pits, shifting sands, and sudden ridges became dangerous traps. Sarilith's massive form moved with precision, but she needed Kian to guide her through the narrowest passes. The boy's sharp eyes spotted a trap buried under the sand, a hole lined with spikes. Left. Now, he thought urgently. Sarilith swerved just in time, her wings slicing through the air, avoiding the danger. You are learning well, she said, her thoughts warm. But trust is not just about seeing danger. It is about acting without fear, even when the outcome is unknown. Kian nodded, feeling pride. He had survived the desert alone, but this was different. He had to trust a dragon, and the dragon had to trust him. Each step, each flight, each choice mattered. The storm roared around them, sand whipping like knives, and yet they moved together, a team in perfect harmony. Later, they reached a narrow canyon hidden from the desert's sun. The walls rose high, casting shadows that seemed to hide threats. Kian noticed movement, tiny figures creeping along the rocks. Bandits. Humans but not friendly ones. They were mercenaries, known for capturing creatures and humans alike to sell to the highest bidder. Sarilith's claws dug into the stone as she landed silently. They want to take me? Kian asked, fear sharpening his thoughts. They want you and me both, Sarilith replied. But we will not go quietly. You must trust me and yourself. The bandits began to approach, unaware that a dragon waited. Kian looked around, searching for ways to turn the fight to their advantage. He noticed a loose boulder above them, balanced precariously. If I can push it, he thought. He directed Seralith to fly closer to the wall while he positioned himself. Using a combination of his strength and clever thinking, he nudged the boulder, sending it crashing down, blocking the path of the bandits. They shouted and stumbled, giving Seralith the chance to strike. Fire erupted from her mouth, but only enough to warn, not to harm. The bandits froze in fear. Kian's heart pounded. He had helped her, and together they had outsmarted their enemies. Seralith's eyes gleamed with pride. "You are brave," she said. "But courage is nothing without trust. You trusted me and I trusted you. That is how we survive." The night fell and the desert cooled, leaving only shadows and the soft whispers of wind. Kian and Seralith rested at the canyon's edge, looking out over the dunes. The boy's mind was full of thoughts, about trust, about survival, and about how much he had learned in such a short time. He had discovered that strength was not only in muscle or fire, but in thinking, in planning, in trusting the instincts of those who cared for you. Seralith lowered her head to the sands beside him. "You are different from other humans," she said softly. "You think carefully, you act bravely, and you care about others. That is why you survive the desert. That is why you can survive anything." Kian felt a warmth in his chest. He had never been praised like this, not since his parents were gone. He realized that trust was not only about surviving threats, but also about forming bonds. He trusted Seralith and she trusted him. Together they were stronger than the desert, stronger than any bandits or predators that might come their way. The next day brought more challenges. They found a ruined village, half buried under sand. Seralith warned Kian of the unstable structures. "Step carefully," she said. "Every choice matters here." Kian moved slowly, testing each step. He discovered hidden passages and old traps, learning that wisdom often mattered more than strength. Seralith followed closely, impressed by his intuition. They uncovered water stored in ancient cisterns and food preserved in clay pots. Kian smiled. Even the desert, harsh as it was, held secrets for those who were clever enough to find them. But the desert was never truly safe. Shadows moved at the edge of their camp, and strange sounds echoed through the canyons at night. Kian learned to remain alert, to listen, to feel the currents of danger in the air. Seralith taught him how to sense predators from far away, how to read subtle shifts in the wind and sand. He realized that trust was not just about following instructions, but about observing, learning, and acting with courage. One night, as the stars sparkled above the endless sands, Kian spoke. "Seralith, do you think I could ever be ready for the real dangers of the world?" The Dragon Queen's golden eyes softened. "You are already facing dangers the strongest humans could not survive. You are learning to trust yourself and others. That is the greatest strength of all. One day you may face enemies far greater than these bandits, and you will be ready, not because I protect you, but because you trust in yourself and in what you have learned." Kian thought about her words, understanding for the first time what she meant. He had survived the desert alone, he had learned to work with a dragon, and he had faced enemies without fear. Trust was not weakness, it was power. And in this harsh desert, that power was their greatest weapon. As the moon rose high and the desert grew quiet, Kian and Seralith rested together. The trials of the desert had tested them both, but they had survived. And more importantly, they had learned the most important lesson: trust. Trust in each other, trust in themselves, and trust in the future. The desert night was calm, but Kian knew it would not stay that way for long. Shadows moved in places unseen, and the winds whispered of dangers yet to come. But he was no longer afraid. With Seralith by his side, he had learned courage, wisdom, and the strength that came from trust. Whatever trials awaited them, he was ready. And in the stillness of the desert, under the silver glow of the moons, a bond was sealed, one that could withstand storms, enemies, and the harshest trials the world could offer. Together, a human boy and a dragon queen were becoming unstoppable. The desert was silent, but Kian felt a strange tension in the air. Seralith hovered low, her wings moving almost soundlessly over the dunes. Something was coming, something they had not yet faced. Kian gripped her scales tightly, his heart pounding. He had survived many dangers in the desert, but this felt different. "Do you sense it?" he asked in his mind, sending his thoughts to her. "Yes," Seralith replied. Her eyes, sharp as blades, scanned the horizon. "They are not desert creatures. They are organized, intelligent, and dangerous." Kian swallowed hard. He had never faced enemies like this. The desert had tested him with storms, predators, and hunger, but now the danger was real and deliberate. He could see movement in the distance, shadows shifting against the dunes. Riders, armed and riding strange beasts, moving quickly and quietly. Saralith's nostrils flared as she smelled them. They were mercenaries, cruel and cunning, sent to capture her. They want you, Kian thought aloud, almost to himself. No, Saralith corrected. They want me and you. They will not stop until they have both. We must act carefully. The mercenaries approached faster, their weapons glinting in the sun. Kian's mind raced. He had learned to trust Saralith, to act quickly and to think strategically. This would be their greatest test yet. Listen to me, Saralith said, sending her thoughts to him. We will not fight blindly. I will use my fire and strength, but you must use your mind. Together we can outsmart them. Kian nodded. He had studied the desert, the ruins and the hidden paths. He noticed a narrow canyon nearby, one that could trap the riders if used correctly. There, he thought urgently, pointing with his hand. We can lead them into the canyon. They cannot escape easily. Saralith moved low, guiding him toward the canyon entrance. The mercenaries did not notice, confident in their numbers. But Kian had seen how they moved, how they underestimated the desert. He signaled to Saralith. Wait, now. With a powerful beat of her wings, Saralith kicked up sand and rock, startling the riders. Kian shouted commands in his mind, directing her carefully. The mercenaries tried to chase them, but the canyon was narrow, winding, and full of traps. Kian had noticed loose boulders along the path and guided Saralith to push them at the right moment. Rocks tumbled, blocking the exits and forcing the attackers into tight corners. The mercenaries roared in frustration, but Kian had one more trick. Using a small device he had found in the ruins, he created a loud noise and a flash, confusing the riders further. Saralith unleashed a controlled burst of fire, not to kill but to scare and intimidate. The mercenaries scattered, some falling into hidden pits, others trapped by the boulders. When the last of them fled, Kian let out a long breath, feeling his heart slow. Saralith hovered above him, her eyes softening. You are clever, Kian, she said. Bravery alone would not have been enough. You used your mind, your instincts, and your courage. That is why we survived. Kian smiled, feeling pride swell in his chest. He had never imagined that a human could work alongside a dragon and survive such a dangerous attack. He realized that courage was not just about strength, it was about thinking, planning, and trusting those around you. But the desert was not done with them yet. As the night fell, Kian noticed strange marks in the sand, tracks different from the mercenaries. Saralith, something else is here, he thought. She narrowed her eyes. I can feel it too. They are not humans. Something older, darker, and more dangerous. We must be ready. Kian's stomach tightened. He had survived storms, predators, and clever enemies, but now the threat was unknown. He had learned to trust Saralith, and she had taught him how to face fear. Still, the unknown was different. The next day they moved cautiously, using hidden paths through the desert ruins. Kian noticed patterns in the sand, footprints that did not belong to humans or animals. They are tracking us, he said. Yes, Saralith replied. But we are not defenseless. Follow my lead and trust your instincts. They came upon an ancient ruin, half buried in the sands. Saralith landed softly, scanning the area. Kian explored carefully, using his knowledge of traps and hidden paths to guide her. The enemy had set snares, but Kian saw them in time. He directed Saralith around pitfalls, broken stones, and hidden spikes. Suddenly, a shadow moved above them. A dark figure descended, landing lightly on the sand. Its armor glinted, and its eyes were sharp and cold. Kian froze, recognizing the figure as a mercenary captain, one of the most dangerous men he had ever heard of. You think you can hide from me? The captain sneered. The Dragon Queen and the boy are mine. Saralith spread her wings, her voice like thunder in his mind. You will not touch him. You will not touch me. Leave now, or you will face fire like you have never known. The captain laughed, arrogant and cruel. I will take both of you, dragon and human, or die trying. Kian felt fear but also determination. He had learned so much from Saralith, and he knew that courage alone would not win this fight. He studied the ruins quickly, finding ways to trap and confuse the captain and his soldiers. Using clever maneuvers and the desert's hidden paths, they forced the enemy into positions where Saralith could strike effectively without killing unnecessarily. The battle was tense. The captain was clever, almost matching Kian's strategies, but together they were unstoppable. Kian guided Saralith to move through the ruins, to push boulders, to create diversions. The mercenaries fell back, trapped and defeated. Finally, the captain realized he could not win and fled, leaving his men behind. Seralith landed beside Kian, her scales shimmering in the sunlight. "You have done well," she said. "Not only have you survived but you have proven your worth. You are more than a human boy. You are clever, brave, and strong in ways few dragons have seen." Kian felt a thrill of pride. He had faced enemies stronger and smarter than he had ever imagined. He had survived because he trusted Seralith and she trusted him. And now he realized something important. He was ready for whatever came next. As the desert grew quiet again, Kian and Seralith rested among the ruins. The sun set in fire-colored waves over the dunes, and the wind whispered of dangers still to come. But Kian knew that no matter what they faced, they could survive together. The Dragon Queen and the human boy were no longer just companions. They were a team bound by courage, trust, and the will to face any enemy that dared cross their path. And somewhere deep in the desert, unseen, the winds whispered of battles yet to come, of challenges that would test their strength and bond even further. But Kian was ready, and Seralith knew that together, they could overcome anything. The desert was calm, the twin moons casting silver light over endless dunes. Kian and Seralith stood at the edge of a high cliff, overlooking the vast sands that had tested them so many times. The mercenaries were gone, the dangers survived, and the boy had proven his courage and cleverness. Yet neither of them forgot the losses they carried. Seralith her hatchlings, Kian his family. Seralith's golden eyes softened as she looked at the boy. "You have grown stronger," she thought. "Not just in body but in spirit. You have survived storms, predators, and enemies. You have learned to trust, to fight wisely, and to care for others. You are ready for what comes next." Kian nodded. He had learned much about the desert, about dragons, and about himself. He had discovered that courage was not simply facing danger, it was thinking, planning, and trusting those around you. He had survived the desert, yes, but now he was ready to build something greater. "Seralith," he thought, sending his words to her, "what will we do now? Where do we go?" The Dragon Queen stretched her massive wings. "We will build a new future. The desert has tested us, but it has also taught us something important. Strength is not only in fire and claws but in heart and mind. You are not just a human boy. You can become part of something greater." Kian felt a thrill. He had always dreamed of a place where he could belong, where he could make a difference. And now, flying beside a dragon, he realized that dream could be real. "I want to help," he said. "I want to learn everything you know and use it to protect others." Seralith lowered herself to the sands. "Then you shall. The world is harsh, but together, dragons and humans can create something new. We will rebuild what was lost and perhaps even surpass it. Your courage, your wisdom, and your spirit will guide the future." 4 days they explored hidden valleys and ancient ruins. Kian discovered old artifacts, remnants of civilizations long gone, and learned their secrets. Seralith taught him dragon magic, not the full power of her kind, but enough to sense the world in ways humans rarely could. Together they prepared for a new beginning. The desert that had once seemed endless and empty now held promise. Kian and Seralith uncovered oases, fertile valleys, and ancient springs. They found shelter among cliffs and ruins that could serve as homes for future allies. Kian worked tirelessly, learning how to survive and thrive in ways no ordinary human could. Seralith guided him, and he guided her in return, combining dragon strength with human ingenuity. One morning, as the sun rose over the dunes, Kian spotted a small caravan in the distance. Travelers, weary and cautious, moving slowly through the desert. "Seralith, look," he said. "People, maybe they need help." The Dragon Queen studied them. "Humans, and alone. They will not survive long without guidance. You will show them the way." Kian felt proud but nervous. Leading others was a new responsibility. But he remembered everything he had learned. The trust between him and Seralith, the courage that had kept him alive, the cleverness that had outsmarted mercenaries. He could do this. Together they approached the caravan, offering protection and guidance. The travelers were amazed to see a dragon, but they quickly realized that Kian was no ordinary boy. His calm, confident presence and Seralith's powerful wings assured them that they were safe. As days passed, more travelers joined them. Word spread of the Dragon Queen and the human boy who had survived the desert's trials. They built a small community combining human skill and dragon magic. Seralith taught the humans how to protect themselves and their lands, while Kian guided them, using both his knowledge of the desert and what he had learned from Seralith. Kian often thought about his parents and Seralith's hatchlings. He realized that loss did not end life, it gave meaning to survival. By helping others, by teaching and protecting, they honored those who were gone. The bond between dragon and human grew stronger every day, built on trust, courage, and shared experience. One evening, under the light of the twin moons, Seralith and Kian stood atop a cliff, looking at the growing settlement below. Fires flickered, children laughed, and humans and dragons alike worked side by side. Kian smiled. He had never imagined such a future. The desert had tested him, but it had also shown him what was possible. "You have done well, Kian," Seralith said. Her voice was gentle, almost like a whisper in his mind. "You have learned courage, wisdom, and trust. You have helped build a new world. I am proud of you." Kian felt a warmth in his chest. "And you, Seralith, you taught me everything. You saved me, guided me, and believed in me when I had nothing." The Dragon Queen lowered her head, brushing him gently with her snout. "We saved each other," she said. "And together we will continue to protect this world for humans and dragons alike." As the nights passed, the settlement grew into a thriving community. Humans learned from dragons, dragons learned from humans, and both discovered that working together was far stronger than standing apart. Kian became a leader, not by force but by example, showing courage, intelligence, and care for others. Seralith became a guardian, her presence ensuring that no harm would come to the people who had chosen to follow them. One day, high above the desert, Kian looked out over the lands they had explored. "Seralith, do you think we could have done all this without each other?" he asked. The Dragon Queen shook her wings slowly. "No. Alone we would have survived, perhaps. But together we have built something far greater than survival. We have built a legacy." Kian smiled, feeling the truth of her words deep in his heart. He realized that family was not only those born to you, it was those you trusted, those you protected, those who stood beside you in the harshest storms. Seralith had become his family and he had become hers. As the sun set over the desert, painting the sands with gold and crimson, the human boy and the Dragon Queen took flight. Below them, the settlement thrived, a symbol of hope, courage, and a new legacy. The desert had tested them, but it had also shaped them, teaching them that strength came not only from power, but from heart, mind, and trust. Together, they soared into the endless skies, ready to face whatever the future might bring. And in that vast world, dragons and humans found a new beginning, a shared destiny, and the promise of a brighter future for all. The Dragon Queen no longer felt the emptiness of loss. She had found something far greater, a human boy who could be her heir, a companion who could share her burdens, and a world they could protect together. The legacy of courage, trust, and hope was born that day, high above the desert, under the silver glow of the moons, and it would continue for generations to come.